They say when you do good, it comes back to you. But I discovered sometimes it comes back with a hidden dagger behind its back. I was just trying to help my son through a rough patch. But then my unemployed daughter-in-law won $8 million in the lottery, and just days later, she kicked both me and my son out of the very house I'd paid for. But what I found afterward turned that painful fall into a revenge nobody saw coming. My name is Margaret Hartman, but everyone calls me Maggie. At 68, I thought I'd seen enough of life to know better. Widowed for 5 years, retired from 37 years as a nurse at Springfield Community Hospital. I should have been enjoying my golden years. Instead, I was standing in my son's driveway at 6:30 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, watching the moving truck pull away with the last of my belongings. 6 months earlier, I'd made what I thought was a compassionate decision. Daniel, my only child, had called me crying, actually crying, something he hadn't done since his father's funeral. His mortgage was 3 months behind. The bank was threatening foreclosure. His wife, Kara, had been laid off from her marketing job 8 months prior. And despite Daniel working double shifts at the automotive plant, they couldn't keep up. "Mom, I don't know what else to do," he'd said, his voice cracking over the phone. "The girls, I can't let them lose their home. My granddaughters, Emma and Sophie, 7 and 5, the thought of them displaced, confused, maybe even living in some cramped apartment or worse, was unbearable. So I did what any mother would do. I sold my condo. It wasn't much, a tidy 2-bedroom in a retirement community, but it was paid off and worth enough to clear their debts with some left over. I told myself it was temporary, just until Kara found work and they got back on their feet. Besides, their house had plenty of room. 4 bedrooms, a finished basement. We'd be one big happy family. The first few weeks were actually pleasant. I cooked meals, helped with homework, took over the school runs. Kara seemed grateful, always thanking me for saving them. She'd hug me in the kitchen, tears in her eyes, promising she was looking for work every single day. But as autumn turned to winter, I began noticing things. Little things at first. Kara would leave for job interviews but return with fresh manicures. She'd say she was meeting with networking contacts at the country club, the same country club whose membership Daniel couldn't afford anymore. When I gently asked about her job search, she'd sigh dramatically and talk about how the market was absolutely brutal for marketing professionals, or how her anxiety made it hard to put herself out there. Meanwhile, I was hemorrhaging money. Property taxes, utilities, groceries for 5 people, gas for 2 cars because Kara needed hers for all those interviews, even Emma's birthday party, which Kara insisted had to be at an indoor play center because all her friends had parties there. I'd transferred my entire savings, $43,000, into a joint account with Daniel to make managing household expenses easier. By December, it was down to $20,000. When I mentioned perhaps scaling back, Kara's eyes would fill with tears. "I already feel like such a failure," she'd whisper. "Please don't make me feel worse about not contributing." And Daniel, my sweet, hard-working son, would just pat her shoulder and shoot me a look that said, "Please, Mom, don't upset her more." So I kept quiet. I kept paying. I kept believing that any day now. Kara would land that job and things would turn around. I even started looking at studio apartments for myself, planning my eventual move out once they were stable. Every time I brought it up, though, something would happen. The furnace would need repairs. Sophie would need dental work. The car would break down. "Just a little longer, Mom," Daniel would say. "We're so close to getting everything sorted." Looking back now, standing in that driveway in the gray Ohio dawn, I should have seen it coming, the way Kara's job search conveniently stalled whenever I mentioned moving out. The mysterious friend loans that funded her shopping trips while I covered their mortgage. The subtle way she'd positioned herself as the victim while I enabled every excuse. But I was blinded by love for my son, love for my granddaughters, and maybe even a desperate need to feel needed after 5 years of widowhood. I'd given them everything, and I was about to discover exactly what that was worth to them. The red flags became impossible to ignore by January. Kara's job search had evolved into an elaborate performance art. She'd leave the house at 9 a.m. sharp, dressed impeccably in designer suits I knew she couldn't afford. Bought them ages ago, she'd say with a wave of her hand. She'd return by 2 p.m., always with stories of almost getting it or interviews that went amazingly but they decided to go internal. One afternoon, I was folding laundry when I heard her on the phone in the next room. "No, I can totally make it to the spa at 3, she was saying. "The facial package sounds divine. Put it on my card." When she saw me in the doorway, she quickly ended the call. "That was a potential employer," she said, not meeting my eyes. "They want to meet somewhere casual. You know how these modern companies are." I wanted to call her out, but Daniel had worked a 16-hour shift and was dead asleep upstairs. The girls would be home from school soon. So I swallowed my words and kept folding his work uniforms. The financial drain accelerated. Suddenly, Sophie needed therapy for adjustment issues. $75 a session twice a week. The refrigerator died, requiring a top-of-the-line replacement because Kara had health concerns about older models. The property tax bill arrived, and mysteriously, Daniel's overtime hadn't been what they expected. "Mom, I promise we'll pay you back every penny," Daniel said one evening, dark circles under his eyes. "Kara's close to something big. She can feel it." What Kara was close to was a nervous breakdown, or so she claimed. By February, she'd added mental health struggles to her repertoire of reasons for not working. She started seeing a therapist, another $150 a week, joined a support group that met at the country club, yes, really, and began practicing self-care that involved a lot of online shopping. Packages arrived daily: clothes, shoes, skincare products, yoga equipment for the home studio she was creating in the spare bedroom. When I questioned the expenses, she'd tear up. "I'm trying to invest in myself. Maggie, my therapist says I need to build confidence before I can succeed in interviews. Don't you want me to get better?" The manipulation was masterful. Any pushback made me the villain preventing her recovery. Daniel was too exhausted and stressed to see it, or maybe he just didn't want to. The joint account dwindled to $15,000, then 10. I started having panic attacks at 3 a.m., calculating how long I could sustain this hemorrhaging. My modest pension and Social Security weren't enough to cover their lifestyle inflation. At this rate, I'd be broke by summer. One day in early March, I made a decision. I found a small apartment near the hospital where I used to work. $500 a month, utilities included. I could manage that on my pension alone. When I told Daniel and Kara at dinner, you'd have thought I'd announced a terminal diagnosis. "Mom, you can't," Daniel said. "The girls would be devastated." "It's only been 6 months," Kara added, her voice trembling. "I'm so close to breakthrough, both personally and professionally. If you leave now, it's like saying you don't believe in us." Emma and Sophie, who'd been quietly eating their spaghetti, both started crying. "Grandma's leaving," Sophie wailed. "Grandma doesn't love us anymore." "Of course I love you," I said, reaching for them. But Kara had already pulled them into her arms. "It's okay, sweethearts. Grandma just needs some space from us. It's not your fault." The emotional blackmail was breathtaking. I spent the rest of the evening assuring my granddaughters I wasn't abandoning them, while Kara shot me wounded looks and Daniel begged me to reconsider. "Just until the end of the school year," he pleaded. "The girls have been through so much change already." So I called the landlord and canceled the apartment. That night, I heard Kara on the phone with someone, laughing. "No, it's fine. Crisis averted. We're good for a few more months at least." I should have left anyway. Should have recognized the trap closing around me. But every time I got close to the door, another crisis would materialize. The washing machine flooded the basement. Sophie broke her arm at gymnastics, a sport they couldn't afford but somehow maintained. Daniel's car needed a new transmission. Each emergency drained more money, more energy, more of my will to fight. And through it all, Kara maintained her performance. the struggling but brave woman trying so hard to contribute while battling her inner demons. By the time April rolled around, I was down to $8,000 and a growing certainty that I was being played. But I was about to discover that Kara's greatest performance was yet to come. It was a Thursday afternoon in mid-April when everything changed. I was in the kitchen making Sophie's favorite cookies. She'd had a rough day at school, when I heard the front door slam so hard the windows rattled. Kara burst into the kitchen like a tornado, her face flushed, eyes wild with an energy I'd never seen before. "Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!" she screamed, grabbing my shoulders and shaking me. "Maggie! Maggie!" I nearly dropped the mixing bowl. "What's wrong? Are you hurt?" She threw her head back and laughed, not her usual practiced titter, but a full-throated, almost manic sound. "Hurt? Hurt? I'm the opposite of hurt. I'm... She thrust a piece of paper in my face. My vision isn't what it used to be, and it took me a moment to focus on the numbers. When I did, my knees went weak. $8 million. "I won!" she shrieked, dancing around the kitchen. "I fucking won the lottery! $8 million! I sank into a chair, still clutching the mixing spoon. When did you... "Last week. I bought a quick pick at the gas station. I've been buying one every week since December. My therapist said I needed to practice abundance mindset and manifesting prosperity. And it worked." She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks, but for once they seemed like genuine tears. I found myself crying too, but mine were tears of relief. Finally, our struggles were over. They could pay off the house properly. I could find my own place without guilt and maybe even rebuild my savings. Daniel came home early after Kara called him, and we had an impromptu celebration. Even ordered pizza from the expensive place the girls loved. We stayed up until 11 p.m. planning. Sensible plans about financial advisors, trust funds for the girls' education, paying off debts. "And Mom," Daniel said, squeezing my hand, "we're paying you back every cent, with interest." Kara nodded enthusiastically. "Absolutely. Maggie, you saved us. We couldn't have made it without you. This is like karma, you know? The universe rewarding us for sticking together." That night, I slept better than I had in months. The nightmare was over. We'd weathered the storm as a family. And now, calm seas were ahead. I even started browsing apartment listings again, but this time with excitement rather than desperation. Maybe I'd get a nice 2-bedroom, have room for the girls to sleep over. Friday passed in a blur of phone calls to lawyers and financial advisors. Kara was surprisingly organized, making appointments, researching tax implications. She even cooked dinner. Badly, but it was the effort that counted. Saturday morning, she went to the lottery office to officially claim her prize. She returned that afternoon with a cashier's check and more paperwork than I'd seen since my nursing days. The money would be transferred to her account by Monday, she explained. After taxes, she'd clear about $5 million. "We're going to do this right, night," she announced at dinner. "No stupid spending, no relatives coming out of the woodwork, just smart, careful planning." I was impressed. Maybe the windfall had finally matured her. Maybe this whole struggle had been worth it to reach this moment of family unity and financial security. Saturday night, we watched movies together. The girls fell asleep on the couch. Daniel dozed in his recliner, and Kara and I actually had a pleasant conversation about her plans to go back to school. Maybe get her MBA now that money wasn't an issue. "I want to make you proud, Maggie," she said. And for the first time in months, she sounded sincere. "You've been more of a mother to me than my own mom ever was." I went to bed that night feeling something I hadn't experienced since selling my condo. Hope, real, tangible hope for the future. Sunday passed quietly. Kara was on her laptop most of the day, researching investment options. Daniel took the girls to the park. I made a big Sunday dinner, pot roast with all the fixings, and we ate together like a real family. "This is nice," Daniel said, looking around the table. "All of us together. No stress about money. We should remember this feeling." Kara smiled at him, then at me. "Oh, I don't think any of us will forget this weekend." Looking back, I should have caught the edge in her voice. Should have noticed how her eyes didn't quite meet mine. Should have wondered why she kept checking her phone and smiling at whatever she saw there. But I was too wrapped up in relief and renewed faith in family to notice the storm clouds gathering in less than 48 hours. I'd understand exactly what Kara meant about not forgetting this weekend. It would be burned into my memory forever, just not for the reasons I thought. Monday morning arrived gray and drizzly, matching what would become my mood by noon. I was doing laundry, humming to myself. When Kara appeared in the doorway, she was dressed in one of her interview suits. But something was different. The nervous energy from Thursday had been replaced by something harder, colder. "Maggie," she said, not meeting my eyes, "we need to talk." I set down the towel I was folding. "Is everything okay? Did something happen with the lottery payment?" "No, the money's in my account." She examined her manicured nails. "That's actually what I wanted to discuss. Daniel and I have been talking, and we've made some decisions about our future." "That's wonderful." "Dear, I've been thinking too, and there's a nice apartment complex over on Maple Street." "You need to leave." The words hung in the air between us like a physical barrier. I must have misheard. "I'm sorry?" She finally looked at me, and her eyes were like chips of ice. "You need to move out, today, preferably. But we'll give you until Wednesday to make arrangements." I laughed, actually laughed, because it had to be a joke. "Kara, what are you talking about?" "I'm talking about our privacy, our family's future. Daniel and I agree that it's time for you to go." But I paid for this house. I saved it from foreclosure. Where's Daniel? I want to hear this from him." "He's at work. He didn't want to be here for this conversation. Too hard for him." She crossed her arms. "And about the house, we're grateful for your help. Truly. But that was a gift. You can't hold it over our heads forever." A gift. The $43,000 I'd poured into their lives, my entire savings, was being reframed as a gift. "Kara, please, let's discuss this rationally. I was planning to move out anyway, but I need time to—" "You've had months to figure things out. Now that we're financially stable, we need to start fresh. The girls need to adjust to our new circumstances without confusion about authority figures." "Authority figures? I'm their grandmother." She shrugged. "And you can still be that, just not while living here. We need boundaries." My legs felt weak. I sank onto the couch. "Where am I supposed to go? I have less than $8,000 left. I gave you everything." "That's not our problem." The casual cruelty in her voice was breathtaking. "You chose to help us. No one forced you. And frankly, living here rent-free for 6 months was pretty generous compensation." "Rent-free. I paid every bill. I bought every grocery. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be." She glanced at her phone. "I have appointments with interior designers this afternoon. We're renovating, and it would be easier if you weren't here." I heard a car in the driveway and rushed to the window, hoping Daniel had come home, but it was a locksmith van. "What's that?" I demanded. "Oh, we're changing the locks. For security. You know, with our new financial situation, we need to be careful." She smiled, and it was the coldest thing I'd ever seen. "Don't worry. We'll give you until Wednesday. But after that, if you're still here, we'll have to take legal action." "Legal action? This is my house. I saved it." "No, Maggie. This is our house. Daniel's name is on the deed. Yours isn't. Legally, you're just a house guest who's overstayed her welcome." The room spun. I thought I might vomit. Daniel would never... He promised to pay me back. "Daniel does what I tell him," she said simply. "He always has. Did you really think your weak-willed son came up with the idea to call Mommy for help on his own? I knew you'd cave. Mothers like you always do." "You planned this?" She didn't answer directly, just smiled that Arctic smile. "The locksmith is here. You should probably start packing. Oh, and don't bother trying to guilt Daniel at work. I've already explained that you've been having some confusion lately. Mental decline is so common at your age. He understands you might say some hurtful things. I stood there, shaking, as she walked to the door to let the locksmith in. Over her shoulder, she added, "Wednesday. Maggie, don't make us call the police." The next 2 days passed in a haze. Daniel wouldn't answer my calls. When I tried to wait for him outside the plant, security told me I'd been banned from the premises, apparently. Kara had called claiming I was harassing him. The girls were kept away from me, told Grandma was sick and needed to go away to get better. By Tuesday night, I was in a cheap motel, my possessions in garbage bags, my heart shattered into pieces I didn't think would ever mend. The local news was running a feel-good story about a Springfield woman who'd won $8 million and planned to give back to the community. There was Kara on the screen, tears in her eyes, talking about how blessed she felt and how she couldn't have survived the hard times without her faith and the support of friends. Not a word about the woman who'd actually kept her afloat. I turned off the TV and sat in the dark, wondering how I'd been so blind. But as I unpacked my bags the next morning, searching for my blood pressure medication, I found something that would change everything, a crumpled receipt that had fallen out of my purse. And suddenly, I realized Kara had made one very crucial mistake. The receipt was from the Speedway gas station on 3rd Avenue, dated the previous Thursday, the same day Kara had burst into the kitchen with her winning ticket. At first, I almost threw it away. Then I noticed the total, $67.32. That was a lot for just gas. I smoothed out the crumpled paper and studied it more carefully. Premium gas, $42. Coffee, $3.50. Candy bars, $4. And there at the bottom, Quick Pick lottery tickets. Quantity 5, $18. Paid with Visa ending in 4729. My Visa. My hands started shaking as the memory crystallized. Thursday morning, I'd given Kara my credit card to fill up her car while I waited with Sophie at the pediatrician's office. She was supposed to just get gas, but I'd been too distracted by Sophie's ear infection to check the receipt when she handed me back the card. I dug through my purse with trembling fingers until I found my wallet. There they were, the other receipts from that day. Pharmacy, pediatrician's copay, and lunch at McDonald's because Sophie was feeling better. All paid with the same card. The lottery ticket, the $8 million winning ticket, had been purchased with my credit card. I sat on the motel bed, heart pounding. Did this matter? Could it matter? Kara's name was on the ticket, but my money had paid for it. Surely that meant something. The next morning, I did 3 things. First, I went to the Speedway and spoke to the manager. By pure luck, Thursday had been his shift. Even better, he remembered Kara. "Oh yeah, the lottery winner," he said. "She was in here celebrating yesterday, taking selfies by the lottery machine. To be honest, she's been a regular for months, always buying tickets when she gets gas, always uses credit cards, different ones. I figured she was juggling debt. Do you have security footage from last Thursday? We keep it for 30 days, but I can't show it to you without a warrant or something official." I thanked him and made mental note number 1. Footage existed. Second stop was my bank. I needed copies of my statements showing the Visa charge. The helpful teller printed out 6 months' worth, highlighting not just the Thursday charge, but a pattern. Kara had been using my cards for months. Small charges, here and there I hadn't noticed. Gas stations, convenience stores, and yes, lottery tickets, dozens of them. "Ma'am, are you aware of all these charges?" the teller asked carefully. "If someone's been using your card without permission—" "I'm handling it," I said, collecting my papers. "But thank you." The third stop was the one that mattered most, the office of Patricia Brennan, attorney at law. She specialized in contract disputes and financial litigation. Her secretary said she could squeeze me in at 4:15 p.m. Patricia Brennan looked like someone's grandmother herself, silver-haired, wearing sensible shoes and a kind smile, but her eyes were sharp as a razor when I finished telling my story and showed her the receipt. "This is interesting," she said, leaning back in her chair. "Very interesting. Lottery winnings typically belong to whoever signs the ticket, but there's precedent for disputes when tickets are purchased with someone else's money. So I have a case? Potentially. The fact that she used your card without explicit permission for lottery tickets strengthens it. The pattern of financial exploitation you've described helps too. But Maggie, I need you to understand something. This won't be quick or easy. She's already claimed the prize. We'd be fighting to prove the winnings rightfully belong to you. What would you need? She pulled out a legal pad. Everything, bank statements, receipts, documentation of all the money you put into their household, witness statements from anyone who saw her use your cards, the gas station footage before it's deleted, text messages, emails, anything showing the financial arrangement and her manipulation. And if we win? If we can prove the ticket was bought with your money without your consent and establish a pattern of financial abuse, the court could rule the winnings belong to you. All of it. I thought about Kara's cold smile, her calculated cruelty. What about the house? Patricia's smile turned predatory. If we can prove you paid to save it under false pretenses, that she manipulated you into depleting your savings with no intention of paying you back, we might be able to argue for more than just the lottery money. Fraudulent inducement, unjust enrichment. There are several angles we could pursue. How much would this cost? I work on contingency for cases like this. 30% of whatever we recover. If we lose, you pay nothing but court costs. I didn't hesitate. Do it. She shook my hand firmly. Good. Time is critical. That gas station footage won't last forever, and the longer she has the money, the more she can hide or spend. Can you get me everything by Monday? It was Wednesday evening. Yes. Then let's get your life back, Maggie, and then some. Walking out of her office, I felt something I hadn't experienced since Thursday. Hope. But this time it was different. This wasn't the desperate hope of a foolish old woman believing in family. This was the cold, determined hope of a woman who'd been pushed too far and had just discovered she had the means to push back. Kara thought she'd won. She'd gotten the money, the house, and her freedom from the woman who'd saved her. But she'd made one crucial error in her perfect plan. She'd gotten greedy at a gas station, and that $18 credit card charge was about to cost her everything. The next 4 days were a whirlwind of activity. I'd never worked so hard in my life, not even during my double shifts at the hospital. But this time, I wasn't saving lives. I was saving my own. First priority, the gas station footage. Patricia called in a favor with a judge she knew and got an emergency preservation order by Thursday afternoon. The Speedway manager was legally required to save the footage and provide copies to both legal teams. When Patricia's paralegal reviewed it, she called me immediately. Maggie, you need to see this. She didn't just buy lottery tickets with your card. She bought cigarettes, energy drinks, even car air fresheners. $67 in unauthorized charges. But the real gold mine came from an unexpected source. Social media. Kara, in her arrogance, had been posting for months. Patricia's investigator found everything. Posts about manifesting abundance. Pictures of her shopping trips tagged #retail therapy. And most damning, a private Facebook group for future millionaires where she detailed her lottery strategy. I buy 5 tickets every week, she'd written in February. Different stores, different cards. My therapist says it's about sending the right energy to the universe. The money always finds a way to come to me. Different cards. The investigator dug deeper and found something shocking. Kara had been rotating between my cards, Daniel's, and 3 credit cards she'd opened in her own name but never told Daniel about. She was drowning in debt from her shopping sprees, barely making minimum payments. This establishes pattern and intent, Patricia explained during our Friday meeting. She was systematically using other people's money to fund her lottery habit while hiding her own financial disaster. Saturday brought another breakthrough. I'd remembered that Emma's teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, had witnessed something odd months ago. When I called her, she was hesitant at first. I don't want to get involved in family drama, she said. Please, this is about more than family. I'm facing homelessness because of what they did to me. She sighed. Okay, back in January, you picked Emma up early for a dentist appointment. You'd forgotten your wallet in the car, and Kara offered to get it for you. I saw her take out multiple cards, looking through them. When she came back, she said she'd grabbed the right one for the parking meter. I thought it was strange, but didn't say anything. She agreed to provide a written statement. By Sunday, we had 17 witnesses lined up, neighbors who'd seen Kara using my car and credit cards, shop clerks who remembered her shopping sprees while complaining about being unemployed, and 3 of her former coworkers who revealed she'd been fired for expense account fraud, not laid off. But the most explosive evidence came from Daniel's own phone. He'd finally called me Sunday night after days of silence. "Mom, please stop this," he begged. "Kara's going crazy. She's talking about suing you for harassment." "Daniel, she stole from me. She used my card to buy that winning ticket. She said you gave her permission to use it." "For gas. Daniel, for gas. And did she tell you about the 3 credit cards she's hiding from you? The $20,000 in debt she's racked up?" Silence, and then, "What?" I heard Kara's voice in the background, sharp and demanding. "Who are you talking to? Is that her? Give me the phone." "Mom, I have to go." "Daniel, wait. Check her Facebook. Check the credit report. Your name might be on some of those cards." The line went dead. Monday morning at 8 a.m. sharp, I walked into Patricia's office with 2 banker's boxes full of evidence. Bank statements highlighted and tabbed, witness statements notarized, a timeline of Kara's lies and manipulations going back 8 months, screenshots of every social media post, every brag about her investment strategies, every photo of purchases made while I paid their bills. Patricia's team had been busy too. They'd found 3 other elderly people Kara had borrowed money from over the years. Former neighbors, a great-aunt, a family friend, all told the same story. Loans that were never repaid, promises that were never kept, and Kara's talent for playing the victim when confronted. "We have enough," Patricia announced after reviewing everything. "More than enough, but Maggie, I need to know you're prepared for this. It's going to get ugly. She's going to come after you with everything she has." "What else can she take from me?" I asked. "She already stole my money, my home, my family." "Your reputation. She'll claim elder abuse, mental incompetence, anything to discredit you. Are you ready for that?" I thought about the motel room I'd been living in, the continental breakfast I'd been surviving on to save money, the photos on my phone of Emma and Sophie that I couldn't look at without crying. "I'm 78 years old," and I said, "I spent 40 years saving lives, 5 years mourning my husband, and the last 6 months being systematically robbed by someone I tried to help. I have $8,000 to my name and nowhere to live. So yes, Patricia, I'm ready. She wants ugly? Let's show her what ugly really looks like." Patricia smiled, and for the first time in days, so did I. "All right then, let's draft this complaint. We're asking for the full $8 million in lottery winnings, the house you paid to save, and damages for financial elder abuse. By the time we're done, Kara's going to wish she'd never walked into that gas station." As we began drafting the legal documents that would turn Kara's world upside down, I felt a strange sense of calm. She thought she'd gotten away with the perfect crime, but she'd forgotten one crucial thing. Hell hath no fury like a grandmother scorned. And I was about to teach her exactly what that meant. The lawsuit hit them like a freight train on Tuesday morning. Patricia had arranged for a process server to deliver it personally, right as Kara was leaving for her celebration brunch with her country club friends. The security footage from their doorbell camera, which Patricia subpoenaed later, showed the exact moment Kara's world began to crumble. Her scream could probably be heard 3 blocks away. By noon, my phone was exploding with calls. I didn't answer any of them. Patricia had warned me to let everything go through her, but I did listen to the voicemails. Daniel, confused and panicked. "Mom, what did you do? Kara's hysterical. She says you're trying to steal her lottery money." Kara, no longer playing the victim. "You bitter old bitch! You think you can take what's mine? I'll destroy you!" Then Daniel again, but different. Cold. Angry. She showed me the lawsuit. This is insane. How could you do this to us? To your grandchildren? By Wednesday, Kara had hired her own lawyer, some flashy guy from Columbus who specialized in lottery disputes. He immediately filed a motion to dismiss, calling our case frivolous, and an obvious attempt at elder financial abuse in reverse. Patricia laughed when she read it. He's panicking. Look at this language. He's throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. Thursday brought the first settlement offer, $50,000 for me to drop the case. Patricia didn't even bother responding. Friday, the offer jumped to $200,000. They're scared, Patricia said. The gas station footage is damning, and wait until they see what else we have. What we had was Daniel. By Saturday, something had shifted. He called Patricia's office directly, asking to meet without Kara knowing. Patricia brought me along, but had me wait in another room where I could hear everything. I found the credit cards, he said, his voice hollow. 3 of them, maxed out, $23,000 in debt. She's been lying about everything. I'm sorry you're going through this, Patricia said carefully. That's not all. I checked our joint account. She's already moved $2 million to an account in just her name. When I confronted her, she said it was to protect her money from Mom's fraudulent lawsuit. Then she asked me to sign divorce papers, said if I didn't support her completely, she didn't need me anymore. What do you want to do, Daniel? I want to know the truth, all of it. That's when Patricia called me in. The look on Daniel's face when he saw me nearly broke my heart. Shame, guilt, and something that might have been relief. Mom, he whispered, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. For the next 2 hours, I showed him everything. The bank statements, the pattern of charges, the witness statements. His face grew paler with each revelation. She told me you offered to help, said you insisted on paying for things because you felt useless. I was working so much. I believed her. She's very good at manipulation, Patricia said gently. Your mother isn't the first person she's done this to. Daniel's cooperation changed everything. He provided Patricia with Kara's real financial records, not just the recent ones, but going back years. The pattern was clear. A long history of taking money from people, burning through it, then moving on to the next victim. I was just the latest, but thanks to the lottery ticket, I might be the last. Monday morning, Patricia called with news. Kara's lawyer wants to meet in person today. The meeting was in a conference room at a neutral law firm. Kara was there, dressed in designer clothes I now knew she'd bought with my money. She wouldn't look at me. Her lawyer cut straight to the point. My client is willing to offer $500,000 to settle this matter. No, Patricia said simply. That's a very generous. The lottery ticket was purchased with my client's credit card, without her permission, as part of a pattern of financial elder abuse. We have documentation, witnesses, and video evidence. Your client is looking at criminal charges on top of the civil suit. Kara's mask finally slipped. Criminal charges. Credit card fraud, elder abuse, theft by deception. The DA's office is very interested in our evidence. The room went silent. Kara's lawyer whispered urgently in her ear. $1 million, he said finally. $8 million, Patricia countered, plus the house, which my client paid to save, plus damages. That's everything. Yes, Patricia said calmly. It is. Kara exploded. I won that money. It's mine. The ticket has my name on it. Bought with my credit card, I said, speaking for the first time, without my permission. She turned on me, eyes blazing. You stupid old woman. You gave me that card. You wanted to help. I wanted to help my family, I said quietly. But you're not family. You're a parasite who saw an easy mark and took everything I had. We'll see you in court, her lawyer said, gathering his papers. One more thing, Patricia added. Daniel's filing for divorce and custody. Turns out judges don't look favorably on mothers who steal from grandmothers and hide assets from spouses. The look on Kara's face was worth every night in that motel room. As we walked out, Patricia put her hand on my shoulder. They'll cave, probably by tomorrow. The criminal charges terrify her more than losing the money. How can you be sure? Because con artists like Kara can't stand the thought of prison, and she knows that's where this is headed if we go to trial. Patricia was right. The call came at 9:15 p.m. They'll take the deal, she said. All of it. The money, the house, everything. In exchange, you won't pursue criminal charges. I closed my eyes, feeling 60 pounds of weight lift off my shoulders. Maggie, are you there? I'm here, I said, and for the first time in months, I meant it. I was here. I was alive, and I'd won. Good. We'll sign papers tomorrow. Welcome back to your life. Maggie, you've earned it. The papers were signed on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. Kara showed up looking like she'd aged 10 years in 10 days. Designer clothes replaced by a simple pantsuit, makeup unable to hide the dark circles under her eyes. She signed each document with shaking hands, never once looking in my direction. When it was over, $8 million and my house were legally mine. The woman who'd kicked me out with nothing but garbage bags full of belongings was now the one leaving with nothing. As she reached the door, she turned back. I hope you're happy, she spat. I'm not, I said honestly, but I'm whole again. That's enough. The next morning, I stood in the driveway of what was once again my house, holding a new set of keys. The locksmith, the same one Kara had hired to lock me out, seemed to appreciate the irony. Full circle, huh? He said, handing over the keys. Something like that. Inside, the house felt different. Kara had started her renovations. Half the kitchen was torn apart, wallpaper stripped from the dining room. I walked through each room slowly, remembering. This is where Emma took her first steps. That's where Daniel told us he'd proposed to Kara. Here's where my husband and I had celebrated our last anniversary before the cancer took him. But I wasn't there to live in the past. I had work to do. The first thing I did was set up trust funds for Emma and Sophie. Whatever sins their mother had committed, they were innocent. The trusts would pay for college, graduate school, whatever dreams they wanted to pursue. Daniel would oversee them until they turned 18. Speaking of Daniel, he showed up that first week, standing on the porch like a stranger. I didn't know if I should knock, he said. It's still your childhood home, I told him, opening the door wider. You never need permission. We sat at the kitchen table, the same one where this all started, and really talked for the first time in months. I was a fool, he said. I let her manipulate me, turn me against you. I chose her over the woman who gave me life. You chose your wife, I corrected. That's what you're supposed to do. How could you know what she really was? You knew? No, I suspected, but I ignored my instincts because I wanted to help. We both made mistakes, Daniel. The difference is we can learn from ours. The divorce was finalized quickly. Kara didn't contest it. She couldn't afford to with her secret debts exposed. She moved back to Indiana to live with her mother, leaving the girls with Daniel. He rented a small apartment near the house, and we worked out a schedule. The girls spent days with me while he worked, evenings and weekends with him. Slowly, we rebuilt, not just our relationship, but our family. Emma was confused at first. Why did Mommy leave? But children are resilient. Sophie just seemed happy to have her grandmother back. 3 months after winning my case, I was making cookies again, Emma's favorite chocolate chip, when I decided to frame something. Not an inspirational quote or a family photo, but the Speedway receipt, that crumpled piece of paper that had saved my life. I hung it in my home office, right where I could see it from my desk, a reminder that sometimes salvation comes from the strangest places, that keeping receipts isn't just good accounting, it's good sense, and that when someone shows you who they really are, you should believe them the first time. But mostly, it reminds me that I'm not just a foolish old woman who got taken advantage of. I'm a fighter who got knocked down and got back up swinging. The $8 million? I kept enough to live comfortably and pay for the girls' futures. The rest I donated to a legal aid fund that helps elderly victims of financial abuse. Patricia helped me set it up. We called it the Check Your Receipts Foundation. As for Kara, I heard through the grapevine that she's working at a mall in Fort Wayne, selling lottery tickets. Ironically enough, I hope she's learned something, though I doubt it. Parasites rarely change their nature. They just find new hosts. But that's not my concern anymore. My concern is the laughter coming from the backyard where Emma and Sophie are playing, the dinner plans I have with Daniel tomorrow, the volunteer work I do at the senior center, helping other grandparents spot the warning signs of financial exploitation. And sometimes, late at night, I look at that framed receipt and allow myself a small smile. Kara thought she'd won the lottery that day at the gas station. But it turns out I was the real winner. It just took me a little longer to collect my prize. Thank you so much for listening to my story today. I'd love to know where you're tuning in from. Please drop a comment below and let's connect. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. Have you or someone you know ever faced a similar situation? I'd really appreciate hearing your experiences in the comments. Until next time, remember, always keep your receipts.